we're in the low eight figures now as a company. And we have a fantastic team, but we're at the point now where things are going well, but you're starting to find some of those typical sticking points. Vern Harnish from Scaling Up has these, like, if you look at his graph of like scaling up dips, it shows there's like a dip before you get to a million, and then a dip around 5 million, and a dip around 10 million. And it's like clockwork. So we're running into some of those, and it's just a lot of it's just natural growing pains. Like, oh, we can't just do everything off the cuff. We need some processes, or oh, we actually need some actual managers to manage things because we're running around like heads with our chickens cut off. I think for us and for me, the thing I'm toiling with is making sure that whatever direction we go, uh, that it's the right direction and we stay true to who we are. Because I see us scaling pretty fast in the next few years, and I take it very seriously because I don't want to lose our culture. I don't want to lose my lifestyle in terms of freedom. I don't want to be a workaholic. So yeah, that's what I'm toiling with is how do we do that? What do we execute on? What do we say no to? How do we make sure that every new person we add, brings up the average quality of employee, which is tough, really tough. So that's I'm at an inflection point as I look at 2026. Like, what are we investing in?
What are you investing in so that you can optimize the growth levers that are pushing you towards the next milestone you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, and some of it's just like good old fashioned constraint theory and like scaling theory. Like, what's the one thing we could do that could 10x our revenue? Those kind of questions. And then, it's like, how do you do that without burning out? I've been part of three companies that just ran out of money. They were technically profitable, but ran out of money. So, I'm conservative there. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, that's something I'm toiling with is how do we do this well? I don't want to just be incrementally growing or flat forever. I think we have bigger impact we need to make. But how do you do that without losing control, losing your identity?
So can I give some feedback from just
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
heard you say? So
please.
I'm not trying to solve the problem here, but I do have some insights on that. And there's two things that really popped to mind, and there's probably many things that we could do to have a discussion around this, but I don't want to labor the clock. One thing in particular, the first thing I heard you say, and we've talked about it a couple of times, is sort of the culture of things. And I'm actually working with a company out of the UK right now where she spent 15 years. I don't know if you and I talked about this before, but she spent 15 years as running a really successful eight-figure recruiting business in the UK where she was exclusively responsible for finding talent for companies. But over the 15 years, she started to notice patterns in every company, no matter how successful or how large or how small they were. And one of the things that's happening in today's modern workplace, and you're probably aware of this, is there's a lot of turnover, or maybe you're not,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of turnover because there's so many opportunities, and for whatever reason, the rising culture of how the agronomy of business now is sort of like what's bigger and better out there. And I think there's a lot of psychology to break that down, where we've grown up with instant gratification on so many levels. So it's like what is bigger and better out there? There's got to be something. But one of the things that we're working with now with her, and I would love to put the two of you in touch with each other if this resonates,
Yeah.
is she's now shifting her entire business model, and this is why we're working together, on not hiring the right people, but shifting the culture, not only in the new people you hire, but the existing culture, starting with the top, moving down and meeting in the middle. And one of the things that we're developing right now is these models, these workshops, these integrated experiential concepts where she will go in and work with a company to sort of make sure that the culture is right sized. And in some cases, that doesn't mean adding more offers or adding all these new different things. It means making sure that the people are ideal for their position, working in the right capacity, working for the right person, managing the right type of person's attitude, etc. And so as you scale, one of the things that I have seen in corporations is that people generally leave because you either get too big or you've lost focus for what you originally started. So my second piece that I would suggest, and again, I'm not giving you advice, you clearly know what you're
Please
doing.
do.
I would say the core risk for people really trying to scale past eight figures is that a lot of companies respond to the friction, these inflection points, by adding more offers or expanding channels or hiring faster or marketing harder or chasing adjacent opportunities that may or may not be outside their core zone of genius,
Yeah.
instead of doubling down on the things that have already worked and how can we optimize that and expand that rather than just adding all these new channels in. So again, if I were charged with
It's
that,
good advice.
those are two things that I would look at right away. What's working really, really well, and how can we optimize that and make that more efficient for the customer's experience? And secondly, is the culture optimized for what we are ultimately value aligned with? Like where are we now? Where do I want to go? What are the gaps in between? And are we culturally aligned in that space? And that's something that one of my clients could, if you want to have that conversation, would love to chat with you about. So those are the two things. And I think if you look at a lot of companies that have failed in that expansion rate, they tried really hard to diversify and do all these different things, and they just got outside of their zone of genius.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like the Silicon Valley story of like there's a genius that scales it up. They don't even think about culture. It's all behind them and they're taking a rocket ship to the moon. And then you end up with a team full of resentful people and
Yeah.
there's infighting and
Yeah. At the inflection, I would suggest that the question isn't how do we move past this friction and grow? I would say that the question is how do we stay true as we expand?
yeah, I think that's a great point. And I've learned you can't like SOP everything to death. Like you can't move beyond where we are to the next phase by SOPing everything. Like I joked that 2024 was the year of the SOP, and it just got to the point where it's like this, for me personally, it wasn't working. It's not scalable, first of all, but second of all, not everything can be systemized. You have to have people that not think like me, but think from the same value standpoint. Like
Hmm.
this is what we're about. Like so that's what I'm trying to lean into now is, when we have decisions like, do we do the thing that makes us money or do we do the thing that's right for the customer? Because sometimes there's conflict there and how you answer that question is really important. So I'm very thoughtful because it's like you can't document that, you just have to have people that can walk that line and be like, okay, we need to grow, but we don't want to start optimizing and, become a porn site because that gets clicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Seth Godin has this joke is like the problem with conversion rate optimization is you end up being a porn site,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, that's graphic and vulgar, but a more real world example is like, hey, when we do all caps in our email subject lines, people open it more.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you could do that. And then you're just screaming at everybody. Is that a good long-term strategy?
Yeah, it's a precarious line to manage for sure. Are you receiving feedback from customers on a regular basis?
Yes. Yeah, we take that very seriously.
That's a great way to look at your data and understand your expansion points and understand your perception of, we talked at the beginning, perception is reality. I think a lot of businesses always sort of focus on what am I bringing to the table? What value do I offer? What solution am I in? How do I see the world? But if you're selling something to customers that are ultimately responsible for your very livelihood, it's really important to step into their shoes for a minute and sort of see what is their perception about your brand, because
Yeah.
that'll tell you a lot about what you're doing right or wrong.